Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe.
Hello and welcome to WrestleTalk's Best of 2017 So Far Awards. This is Luke Owen, I'm Ollie Davis, and today we're going to be counting down the top 5 of our personal opinions, and of the popular vote where thousands upon thousands of you have voted for the best wrestling segment / angle of 2017 so far. So not the storyline or feud, or not the matches, but the individual great moments, so like the heel turns, which is kind of advantageous for WWE because they can do little bits very well. It's the follow-up and the overall feuds where they tend to falter quite significantly.
This is where they succeed.
Oh yeah, big blockbuster moments. So in the popular vote at number 5, we have The Undertaker retiring at WrestleMania 33. So that, as you've described it, the very slow, sad striptease. Mm-hmm. He leaves his hat and coat and gloves in the ring, and then he walks out. Even breaks kayfabe at one point to kiss Michelle McCool at ringside.
Yeah.
And then very slowly walks out to his entrance music. Not a dry eye in the house, nor indeed at home. And
yeah, I mean, as I said yesterday, it's one of those moments where I was like, I wish I could have been to see that. I wish I could have seen that live, because what a moment that would have been. It'd be like amongst your people as well, amongst wrestling fans, watching one of the all-time greats, perhaps the greatest of all time. A man who has carried one character his whole career, a character that, by all rights, probably shouldn't have got over in the first place. But he has carried that through the good and the bad. He's tweaked it here and there. He turned into a biker for a little bit. He had that really bizarre tag team with the Big Show where they were talking about going into the desert and coming back with snakeskin boots. But he was a dead man again. He's had some awful feuds. He's had some great feuds. But what a career overall.
I've got a little asterisk for this one.
Oh, okay, yeah, interesting.
And that is, as great as it is, it's obviously very sad, but it was always going to be one of the best segments or angles of the year. The Undertaker retiring. It's at number 5 here. They should have made this even more of a big deal.
But again, I think that's because
by the build. And
and I think there's that moment as well of, you don't want to put like the I want your career on the line, because sometimes that makes it a little bit too gimmicky. And I think what they wanted was just like, it's a fight over the yard supremacy. And because The Undertaker lost his yard, he realised that he had to retire from yard duty. Gardening.
Can't tend that like yard anymore.
Gardening's it's a horrible upkeep, and it sometimes just grows too much, and you can't do it anymore, especially when your hips hurting.
Alongside his gloves and his coat and his hat, he should have also put a gazebo. And the barbecue grill that he has.
His secateurs.
His hoe.
That's not about talking about Michelle McCool. Hi-yo!
At number 4, we have the first of our Braun Strowman double bill. Braun Strowman breaking the ring with the Big Show in their match on Raw in their main event.
Who doesn't love a ring exploding spot?
So it's done 3 times in the history of WWE. So there was the Brock Lesnar Big Show superplex spot. Then there was the Mark Henry Big Show superplex spot. And now there was this one.
Yep.
And perfectly placed, so they're all still shocking.
And all those moments like really got over those people as well. Like it really got over Lesnar in the first instance. Mark Henry, that wonderful Mark
Hall
Henry
of Pain run.
That wonderful Mark Henry World Championship run. That was a feud that was keeping 2011 or 12. Yeah, something like that. Like, this is a weird thing about WWE. I was thinking about this the other day, in that, like, if you go back and watch, I'm playing my Remember When gimmick, like, the difference between 97 and 1998 WWE, or even, like, 1998, then 1999, and 1999 is 2000, all of them very different years. But with WWE now, like, I think I'd find it very difficult to differentiate the last 7 years of storytelling, which is why, like, when we mentioned, like, title runs, we're like, yeah, it was in 2000... Man, when was that? It was 2012 or something like that. It's hard to remember the dates of these things because it all just feels the same.
It could be because we are still so close to it, and with the lens of history, they do start to separate out more. Because I think we will have like the brand split era, and there'll be like the sort of indies era when CM Punk and Daniel Bryan that started to come up on top.
Maybe.
But yeah, I do know what you mean. It does all seem like one big blur of Vince McMahon left to his own devices without competition.
Yeah, but regardless, great moment.
At number 3, the second part of our Braun Strowman double bill, the week before the ring break. segment, Braun Strowman deadlifting an ambulance on Roman Reigns, which that was just the end of a hellacious beatdown.
I'm not finished with you.
I'm not finished with you. So it started off with just a classic beatdown backstage when Roman was doing an interview, I think.
Yeah, doing his yard interview, talking about the maintenance and the secateurs.
Did the nasty, I think he chucked like a production box on him. And then the paramedics are strapping him to the gurney? Or I can't remember what you call it. Stretcher. And Braun Strowman, I'm not done with you. Very good edit, because they had obviously filmed this before, and when they edited it, Braun Strowman was no longer pushing Roman Reigns on the stretcher. It was a dummy on the stretcher, and he just flung him really fast off a quite high concrete block. And it looked brutal the way he just landed there with his arms, strapped to the sides.
As How to Wrestling would describe it, he just effed him off the side.
Effed him off the side.
It was wonderful.
And then you're like, that was a really good segment. I'm happy with that. And then they're loading Roman Reigns into the ambulance. And Braun Strowman, I'm not done with you, beats him up in the ambulance.
So funny.
And then it gets the superhero level of zaniness and tips over the ambulance with Roman Reigns inside.
So great. What a great... when I was writing up this list, that was the first one that came up into my head, because
very memorable.
So memorable. And that was just after WrestleMania as well. Perfect. Great stuff.
It is ridiculous, and it doesn't make wrestling feel real, but sometimes you can get away with that sort of stuff.
If there was only one negative, I suppose you could put on there, is that this was an angle that was designed to get Braun over as a dangerous heel and Roman Reigns over as the babyface in peril, and yet everyone was just chanting, "Thank you, Strowman."
Yes, that didn't quite play out there.
And more funnily, actually, was "You deserve it." So good.
It would be great if you didn't chant it for literally everyone, as the Miz would say.
Oh, what a great chant. It was so funny.
And number 2 in the popular vote, we have a very recent segment, Samoa Joe choking out Paul Heyman.
Now, I wonder if this ties back into when we did the top 5 matches of the year so far. You said it was the 5-way at Extreme Rules. And you said it's probably because it was fresh in people's memories. I wonder if this is the same thing here.
Could be.
Could be here, because it was a great segment.
It was a great segment, and one of the best on Raw of the year.
Actually, I'd say in quite a few weeks as well.
Yeah. So it's Samoa Joe. Paul Heyman comes out to challenge, not to challenge Samoa Joe, but to put him over ahead of the Great Balls of Fire match against Brock Lesnar. Samoa Joe puts down the mic, corners Paul Heyman in the ring, and very menacingly says to him all the things he's going to do to him with choking him out, and that he should go and tell Brock Lesnar how painful it is. Proceeds to choke him out, and then, the crowd are chanting, "We want Brock, we want Brock." Joe picks it up. So do I.
Improv line, clearly, because the mic wasn't turned all the way up when he picked it up. Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah, it was great. But yeah, number 2 in the popular vote, so very high up there. In fact, let's do apart from The Undertaker retiring at WrestleMania, everything's been Raw.
Yeah.
So great moments, but god-awful 3-hour stints.
I think that does sum up Raw as well, because Smackdown, while it's had some fairly decent matches and some good pay-per-views and things like that, hasn't had killer moments. Really this year. There hasn't been a great main event angle or a big thing that's happened on SmackDown, in the main event of the show, because they just end usually with a wrestling match and send the crowd home happy. Or actually, no, they have to stick, or some of them stick around and watch 205 Live. But there hasn't been a Braun Strowman attacking Roman Reigns. There hasn't been a festival of friendship. There hasn't been a Joe attacking Heyman. Because SmackDown is really just Shane McMahon comes out and goes, "What's up?" whatever town they're in. Here's some matches we're going to have.
Fancy footwork.
Here's some matches we're going to have tonight. And then those matches happen. And then everyone leaves. It's a very different show.
Well, at number 1, we have another Raw angle, and that is the Festival of Friendship, where Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho finally broke up. Owens turned on Jericho. Why's my name on here?
Yeah. Brought a tear to your eye.
This is the best segment Raw's ever done for me.
Oh, really?
Really? It's in terms of emotion, and I just thought it was perfectly structured because it started with comedy, funny comedy, with Chris Jericho talking Owens through all the gifts that he's got them. There was the magician who was rubbish. There was the piece of artwork, the painting, and then the little sculpture as well. And then Kevin, then it got real. And Kevin Owens was like, why do you keep doing this? This is geeky and it's stupid. And you're like, oh, now I feel bad for Jericho. And Jericho's like, because you're my best friend. I've honestly had more fun in this than I ever have in my career. And you're like, he's talking from the heart because he really does like this run. And the character's gotten over so well. And then Owens is like, you know what? Sorry, I've got you a present as well. So you've gone from laughter to sadness to hope again. And that's where you're at now. And Owens gives him the present and he picks it up and it's the list of KO, and Jericho looks at it and goes, oh man, I need a new list. Why is my name on here? And then you're like, oh no. It brings me feels. I watched that over and over again that week. Just that moment of, why is my name on here? Yeah. And it really, it got me in the feels. I loved it.
Very good angle, wasn't it? It was just perfectly done. And then the beatdown afterwards was great. Mm-hmm. I thought actually like the beatdown that they did to send Jericho packing from SmackDown was also like really, really great.
Yeah,
I thought it was a wonderful, wonderful angle. And you're right as well. It's those pure peaks and troughs. The highs and lows. Great stuff.
Very well structured segment.
It's not my favourite segment of Raw of all time, though.
Well, let's find out what your of the year.
I was going to say, you said like of all time.
Yeah,
it is. I disagree. I could name probably 5 that I prefer more than that.
It's a lofty claim, and it will probably fall down if we start to scrutinise it.
So
let's go into
the title.
Into the Mankind winning.
Nexus debut.
Maybe it was a bit hyperbole. I mean, in terms of like an in-ring segment, though.
These were in-ring segments. I think Mick Foley winning the title was an in-ring segment. Like, that was
it was off a match.
Yeah, but it was a show-long storyline.
So I kind of mean as just a segment, like a highlight reel or a barbershop window. Mm-hmm. You know, like a talk show segment bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Not in terms of like an actual angle. Yeah. Anyway, let's go on to the personals. My number 5 pick of best segment angle of the year is the Fashion Files skits on SmackDown.
I'm amazed this didn't get into the top 5. It was
on the list.
I know it was on the list of Jericho, but it didn't get into the top 5 of the popular vote, which I'm surprised at because, I mean, how can you not love the Fashion Files? They're so good.
Breezeango have got themselves over. They've made themselves into a really hot act. Purely off the back of these. It wouldn't work if you didn't have these, and they're running with them. I love them. What's yours?
Mine is actually the Joe Heyman angle from Raw. I just thought it was perfectly done. Really, really loved it. But yeah, it's been great. Really good.
Hot tag. My number 4 is Joe Heyman.
Oh, yeah. And hot tag. My number 4 is the Fashion Files.
Hey! You are reading them out in the right order.
It's the right order this time.
Good.
Yeah. Go watch yesterday's video in case you don't understand that reference.
So my 3rd place is something that I'm surprised isn't in the popular vote. The Hardy Boyz returning at WrestleMania 33.
Hot tag. The Hardys returning at WrestleMania is my number 3 as well. Okay, so what a great weekend that was of wrestling, where it was like all those rumours of like the Hardys are going to re-sign with WWE, and then what tipped it for me was when Jeff was like, "We're not signing with WWE again."
He did an interview, didn't he?
Yeah, he did an interview, and as soon as he said that, I was like, "Oh yeah, they're definitely signing."
Yeah.
There was a little inkling of, but even up to the point of the pay-per-view was starting, my mate was messaging me going like, "Do you think the Hardys are here?" And I was like, "I don't think they are. I genuinely don't think they are."
Yeah. I'm the same.
I'd almost talked myself out of it, and then when the New Day came out before the ladder match, my friend and I jumped out of our seats because we were like, "This is it. This is the moment the Hardys come back."
Well, I was going to
say, and then when that music hit and the crowd erupted, and with delete chants throughout the arena, what a moment! There wasn't a great WrestleMania in terms of it was so long, but if you're going to go back and rewatch any moment, just listen to that pop that the Hardys got when they came out. It was incredible.
So I've mentioned it a few times before on this show. I'm quite dumb when I watch wrestling, and I don't think of things that are obviously going to happen. I don't know. I just don't have the critical capability when I'm actually watching the matches. And New Day came out, and I was like, "Oh, New Day are going to enter themselves into the match, aren't they?" And they're talking. I'm like, "Yeah, all right. Who's it going to be?" And then the music hit, and I was like, "Oh my God, no, I forgot about this." Despite writing that entire week, like every WrestleTalk news that week was Hardy Boyz to WWE, Hardy Boyz secret debut at WrestleMania. And for whatever reason, in the tag ladder match, I forgot that was a possibility, and I was genuinely surprised. It was awesome. So that was a joint number 3.
I mean, and I think as well, do you know what? I talked myself out of the Hardys returning as well. And it's because we did the Wrestle Ramble predictions.
Yeah.
I just kept saying to myself, like, well, Enzo and Cass have got to win because this is the moment they're winning. This is the moment that they're going to finally achieve tag team glory. So I talked myself so much into that storyline. I couldn't fathom the idea that the Hardy Boyz were coming back. But yeah, great, man. What's your number 2?
My number 2 is Undertaker retiring.
Interesting.
Because I just think it's such a big thing, and it was very emotional. It's got to be up there.
My number 2 is Strowman versus an ambulance.
Yeah.
I laughed.
There's only one winner there.
I laughed my tits off with the "I'm not finished with you," and then just the deadlifting moment. When they did that, I was like, "Yes, Raw! More of this!
Yeah.
More Strowman destroying inanimate objects. Ugh.
Fun.
Yes.
More stuff that's fun.
Yes! Oh, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. That was a perfectly booked angle, with the exception of the crowd meant to have been booing him, really, But yeah, the crowd were just really on his side.
It all comes in no surprise that my number 1 is the Festival of Friendship, which I've already spoken about. But yeah, I still get feels.
Hot tag. It's similar.
I know what you're going to say. Yeah.
My number 1, without a shadow of a doubt, was Tomasso Ciampa turning on Johnny Gargano at NXT TakeOver Chicago.
Feels.
So, feels. 100% feels. Okay, so appreciate everything you've said about the Festival of Friendship. You are not wrong, and the people are not wrong. You are completely right for voting for this. However, personally for me, I was far more invested in the Gargano-Ciampa friendship than I was the Jericho-Owens friendship. Because I loved them as a tag team, and I wanted them to succeed as a tag team. I liked seeing Kevin Owens Universal Champion, but because it was just being dragged out, and it was just like, eventually Goldberg's going to win, and then it's going to go to Lesnar and this and the other. So it just felt like a bit of a whimper towards the end. Whereas this, I kept seeing these guys want to team because they were having these awesome matches, these great feuds with teams like The Revival, like Authors of Pain. And I was like, I want to just see these guys do more and more and more. And it was, for me, I think it's been a perfectly told storyline. It's kicking off with the Cruiserweight Classic when Ciampa went out in the first round to Johnny Gargano. And he had that moment where it's like, that. I thought that's when they were going to do the turn. And he went and he just hugged his buddy. And they've been building that up ever since from that moment there. Little subtle teases, little moments. And then there was that moment during the ladder match when Gargano pushed him out of the way to take that ladder to the face. And then...
Gonna make me cry, man.
They're at the top of the ramp. The credits come up, and he just looks at him and goes, "It's time." And he just throws. In the words of How to Wrestling, he effed him into the side of the building, and then that be done. And it's all down to Gargano as well, because Ciampa was great. He looks like a psycho killer. You look like you're actually welling up a little bit.
It's sad. I'm getting emotional.
He looks like a complete psycho killer. The crowd are booing him because that is a real heel move. It's not Strowman lifting up an ambulance and everyone cheering and going, "Thank you, Strowman." No one was saying, "Thank you, Ciampa." Everyone was booing him, calling him an a-hole, and just bad-mouthing this dude.
Correct heat. And
Gargano, on his face, all you can see in his eyes is just like, "Why are you doing this? What have I done to upset you to get this event to happen?" And it was the clawing at him and just like his head in his lap of just like, why? Why have you done this to me? Just a pure... that hit me right in the feels more than the Festival of Friendship did. Yeah. And I loved it so much.
Feels.
Feels all round.
But that's all we've got time for this one. Please tune in tomorrow for our final award category, and that is the worst thing in wrestling in 2017.
And there's a lot to choose from.
Oh yes, it's a heated top 5 there. But for now, click the videos that have just appeared over Luke Owen's face to watch the latest Wrestle Ramble or the latest WrestleTalk news. This has been Luke Owen. I've been Ollie Davis. Of course, subscribe to WrestleTalk and support WrestleTalk on Patreon. And that was awards.